The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Yes. Smile for the camera, Jim. What, what do you think this is? Radio? No. There's a picture. How about that? Coming to you cordless, everybody. It's Monday night, July 29th. I had to think there for a second. 2024. It's 11 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 11 a.m. in Singapore, 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Sydney, Australia. And here where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis, it's 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I am Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is episode number 141, for those of you keeping score at home. We got a big panel tonight. It's the month in review panel. Tim Conaway is going to be here. Don Zero, taking Larry Newman's place, who's off somewhere. I have no idea what he's doing. Is Jennifer Oliver O'Connell. She fits in with the boys pretty well. Besides, the boys need discipline. I'm sure she'll love it when I said that. Okay, so what are you wondering? You're wondering, like, how am I doing? Okay, I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Everyone's showing up now. They're all showing up. They're all coming on. It was my mother's 100th birthday on Friday. Saturday, we had I'd like to say a big celebration. We wanted to have a huge celebration, literally invite hundreds of people. She didn't want that. So we had a relatively intimate party, but I think still 50 or 60 people showed up. I think these were basically, she gave us a list basically, and it was a good time had by Hall. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen this week because it kind of involves my mother. We got the month in review panel tonight. Tomorrow, Tom Palladino is going to be here. He's a researcher involving scalar light. I got to admit, I don't even really know what's going on here. So we're pre-taping this tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. That's what I do. I'll find out just with you when you do too. Wednesday, and that's the thing. Today's our 141st show. Wednesday is going to be our 143rd show, and that's our 1-year anniversary. We've been doing this for 1 year, 143 shows. I'm assuming Jeff Myers coming on for that. I talked to him previously. He was in Africa for a couple weeks. And no, not big game hunting or even photo hunting. Believe it or not, he was there with his church. So somebody's doing something good for the world, thank goodness. And also Santa's going to be here. Now you're wondering, why are we talking to Santa in July? Because of Christmas in July? No, because Santa came on. Santa was supposed to come on our show the night before Christmas, our last show before Christmas, and he got hung up. Something came up. I don't know what it was, toy manufacturing issue or something. But he couldn't make it, so it came on the first week of January. I think it was January 4th or 5th. He came on, and I'm talking to Santa afterwards. I'm thinking, well, nobody really knows what Santa does during the rest of the year. Why don't you come on and we'll talk about it? And he said, okay. So we've been meaning to have him on now for quite a while. Too much news. But he's coming on for our 1-year anniversary show, and he's going to talk about what he's been doing the last 6 months. So that's that, and I'm hoping that all these guys and gals who are coming here tonight are going to call in. I'm hoping that, and also I put this in the description for tonight's show. Dylord, if you're watching, you want to call in without your shirt on, that'd be great. So this guy, he's called in. Actually, he's pretty astute too. I have to say, the conversation's been good. But he's been calling in the last 2 or 3 times we've done these panel shows. He calls in without a shirt on. He's young. He has a good body. My personal rule is that no one over the age of 30 should go in public without a shirt ever. I don't care how good a shape you're in. I don't care. I really don't. It's wrong. And you look like an idiot. Don't look like an idiot. But if you're under 30, yeah, okay. If you have a good body, show it. And he does, and he does. So that's my story. So yeah, we're doing our one hour show on Thursday. I'm taking Thursday off this week because now here's the irony. And my mother's been on the show. I wanted to have her on for her 100th birthday, but it turns out that didn't work out because of the very reason I'm going to tell you. I'm helping her move on Thursday. It's the first of the month. She's moving to assisted living after living on her own now for what 35 years. My father died in 1989, and she's been living alone, basically on her own. But and she's finally decided maybe a little assisted living would not be a bad thing. So she's moving to an assisted living facility, and God knows at 100, who can blame her? I my only problem with this, if you want to call it a problem per se, is right now in the small town she lives in a senior citizens high rise downtown, so she can get out and walk around and go to the market and all that sort of stuff. This place she's going to be moving to is not downtown; it's on the outskirts of town, but they do have a bus that goes downtown. So hopefully she will continue that. I hope she does, because I think that's kept her healthy, frankly. So, I was saying on Wednesday, Jeff Meyer is a publisher and CEO of Calling News, and they're our sponsor here. Let me show you. This is the Calling front page in real time right now, and in the top left corner, there's a article by HotAir.com that says that I haven't read this that Kamala has approved of a Venezuelan president or dictator, however you want to put it, Maduro's re-election, which appears to be a complete utter scam. The polling indicated that the exit polling indicated he lost by 30 points, and he's saying he won by 51 to 48%, I think, like that. No, he didn't. People hate him. They hate him. He's just lying, as people here do too. We kind of find that out. But anyway, that's what's going on here. Calling News is a news aggregator, so they do not write any articles. Actually, they occasionally write a few, like Drudge Report does, but they generally get articles from other news sources, 75 to be precise. Unlike Drudge Report, and this sounds like a bad thing, but it isn't. This is completely automated. So every 3 hours, the news servers go out. They go these 75 news sources. They grab all the new articles that they haven't grabbed it already from the last 3 hours, and they bring them in. They lay them out on the front page automatically in chronological order. And the real cool thing about Calling News, unlike any other news aggregator you've seen, is they mix all the articles together. So they're listed in newness at the top, but it doesn't matter what source they're from. So, like, for example, if you go to Liberty, or there's several other of these news aggregators, you'll see the top 10 stories from like Fox News or Breitbart or whatever. Here, it's just the top stories, period. It doesn't matter where they're from. So if you click on an article, or more specifically, a photo or a headline, the photos are from the articles themselves. The headlines are not rewritten. They're from the articles. You click through, you go directly to that article. There's no interstitial page. There's no ad. You don't go to the home page. Nothing. You go directly to that article. It's the closest thing you'll find online to, with the lack of a better term, a traditional newspaper. And I don't know if you can see this. I keep wanting to put my cursor there, but you can't see my cursor. In the bottom left corner, like in that picture of Maduro there's a little icon, and that icon is the icon, the brand of the news source is coming from, the source. So, and that's HotAir.com. I can tell because I spent a long time here. I used to work for the site, and I'm very, very proud of it too. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful resource. If you Hot Air, if you click on that little icon, that little logo, you go to the front page of HotAir.com. But the article goes directly to the article. By the way, that's my picture on the upper right. That's because they sponsor the show. I'm very, very proud of that. Like I said, I worked for this organization for years. Couldn't be more proud of it. Very cool. So you can't find a better news source than this. It's free. You don't have to register. You don't have to log in. Nothing. You just go there. It's conk.com, conk.com. And seriously, try this. You won't regret it. So There we got two of the three people here right now. And I'm going to put them on. We're gonna talk as we do this. Here's 12 seconds of bumper music. Here we go. Once again, we're waiting for Don Zorro. Sounds like the name of a play.
Yeah, I was about to say sounds like a song.
Yeah. Are you alive, Tim? Yeah.
I am here.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
I have Fritos.
Oh, yeah, you got the Fritos.
Got his Fritos ready.
Oh, do you have Fritos too?
I do not. I just
I
have
love
water out of
Fritos,
my
though. Man, they're
890.
greasy. So I love them. Potato chips are a good thing, you know,
Yes.
although they're not potato chips. Okay, so I'm boring everybody now. So I tell you what, yeah, let's dive right into this. And this is what I got. I got a timeline here. What's happened the last 2 weeks, and I thought we'd go through it in reverse. All right. So
Really good
first
idea.
thing, Biden says he wants to change the Supreme Court. Bullshit. Just bullshit. This is just crap. It's like, you know, I mean, they get a couple rulings they don't like, and so apparently everything's wrong. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh well, he can't change the Supreme Court.
Say again?
Well, he can't change the Supreme Court.
No, he
Unless
can't. No, that's
somebody
the other thing. They can't do this.
signs, passes away, then he can suggest a replacement for them and nominate somebody. They still have to be approved by the Senate. So, can't do that. And, they've talked about, going from 9 justices to 12 or 13, some other number. That requires a constitutional amendment. It can't be done by law or an act, an executive order. So yeah, it's just more bullshit.
Yeah, he. I think basically he needs something to do.
Yes.
That's really the impression that I get, because Kamala is acting like de facto president these days.
I'll
anyway.
say she is. No lie.
So, he needs something to show that I'm still around and I'm still the president. But yeah, it's a non-starter. No matter how much they spout about it. Thankfully, as long as they have the filibuster, Schumer's not going to be able to do whatever he wants to do either. So,
this isn't, speaking of Schumer, this isn't on my outline here. But, and I'm not the only person bringing this up. The fact that Schumer's come out and is urging Trump to drop Vance, the only thing I can think of is if they're scared of something. That's the only thing I can think of.
Exactly. They know that Vance is the secret weapon and they don't like it. They don't know how to attack him. I mean, first of all, he's drawing in those votes that they so desperately want. Those, ordinary white guys like you.
Yeah.
And then he's young and he's intelligent. I mean, basically his pedigree, except for the military, and his pedigree is everything that they crave after, which is why they try to attack his pedigree. But that Appalachian life and growing up in poverty and then overcoming that, the overcomer story. It's a powerful story, and they despise it. It's just like, well, how are you? We're the one that owns those stories. It's like, no,
Jennifer, this is on my outline about the fact that apparently the word of the week is weird.
Yeah,
and, I'm getting really these people they act so in lockstep. I just like it's just
I don't know whether it's Asen, one of those videographer guys that do amazing things. They did a super cut of all of these Democratic leaders and politicians saying the same word. Weird. He's just weird. Every news show. My colleague Jeff Charles wrote a great hot takes piece on that, as well as just how Republicans are basically saying, oh, well, yeah, JD Vance is weird, and you have a drag queen story hour at the White House.
Yeah, right.
JD Vance is weird, but Ella Imhoff, Kamala Harris's stepdaughter, dresses like a freak. So
No, I think they were writing. You guys were writing about this on Red State too, Jennifer, about the fact that for all this bullshit, there's still a good possibility she can win. I don't think the Republicans should not let their guard down here at all. They shouldn't.
And I don't think they are. They really are waiting. I shouldn't say waiting. I mean, they're obviously punching her. One of the things that I'm glad that they did stop was the whole DEI thing, because it's always a non-starter. They stopped that, I noticed, and they are really attacking her on the border, and which is why they started that weird thing, because they wanted them to stop talking about the border, her being the border czar. And now they're really hitting her hard on, continuing on illegal immigration, but then her supposed prosecutorial record that she said, "Oh, I'm a tough cop." She still wants to ride on that, and so all the stuff is coming out. But I agree, you can't. They are not underestimating her, but there's also a distinct possibility that it's still going to be an open convention, and she's not going to be the anointed one.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I know. And that's why Trump says he doesn't even want to commit to debating her, because there's a possibility she might not be the actual candidate.
Right.
At this point, I'd say, I don't know if I'd say good possibility. You think it might be a good possibility, huh?
I think it's a good possibility. She's a terrible candidate. Always has.
She's awful. Matter of fact, you've run campaigns before, so I want to run this by you about the fact people say, well, 100 days is 99 days today. It's like, that's not very long, but to my mind, it's just long enough for everybody to be reminded of how stupid she is. You let this drag on for 3 months. I mean, I really, and I'm trying to be accurate here. I do think this woman is really stupid. She has a certain amount of street smarts. I know that. But as far as I think that in a debate with Trump, she would do almost as bad and maybe as bad as Biden did. I really do think that, just because her mind is mush.
I don't even think it's her mind is mush. Her mind has been so used to having whatever the agenda is poured into it that unfortunately she has no independent thought.
No.
And she doesn't know how to think on her feet. And she does not have the charm or the savoir-faire of Obama, so that she could only slide on those looks and that cackle for so long. And of course, Trump had an interview with Laura Ingraham, and he basically said, "Yeah, you notice they got rid of the cackle. She's not cackling anymore." Yeah. It's true, because she's not cackling anymore, and all of this fan art. I wrote about this on Red State too, part of the rebranding. All of this fan art is showing her in skirts with her legs. How it's been years probably that we've actually seen her in a dress or a skirt. Probably
that's
never.
True.
I never when she was with Montel, I think we saw her in a skirt, and that's about it.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Of course, with Willie Brown, I don't know if she was wearing much of anything, but goodbye. I said that. I went there.
You did go there. But,
I went there.
I want Trump to stay away from it. I want the Republicans to stay away from it because.
But I don't have to.
No, but exactly. But I think other people. I'm with Megyn Kelly. I think it's fair game. If that is, because it's an embarrassment frankly, it's an embarrassment to me. She's always been offensive to me for that very reason. That, I know I did not sleep my way to the top. I haven't even made it to the top.
Well, there's another thing too, and sorry to leave you out of this, Tim, but you don't apply here. And I'm getting tired of people referring to her as black. She's not black. She's not African American.
No, I wrote an extensive Reddit State op-ed on that too. That black people are frankly, they don't understand how many black people are highly offended by this. Oh, you look, a black person. We're shoving her in your face, and it's like she's not black. She's Indian. She's not even culturally black.
No, I
also,
don't think
what she has done to black men, jailing over 165,000 black men on marijuana charges. A couple of them got convicted for 50 years to life on trumped up charges. So yeah, she's her record is terrible, and her record is particularly terrible for the Black community, and she's barely apologized for that. She hasn't said
Yeah.
anything.
Now, Tim, when you lived in Los Angeles years ago, you were Black, isn't that right?
No, I was
I'm
Mexican.
terrible. I'm awful.
I was always tan, dark, and with my dark hair and beard, and people would come up to me and start speaking Spanish to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
That he passed.
yeah. So that was my thing.
Oh God, it's too bad Zorro isn't here.
Yeah. But well, Kamala is like Jennifer says, she can't think on her feet. Everything that she did as a prosecutor, and it's all those easy cases, those easy wins, and that's what prosecutors do, is go for the easy stuff.
Yeah.
Busting people for marijuana in San Francisco is like that's you could just do that the whole time. The police could stay busy around the clock, especially back when she was doing it. So yeah, no original thoughts. Everything is laid out beforehand by her staff, and her attorney general appointment was a pure political kind of thing. She didn't do anything or achieve anything as the state attorney general, so she doesn't really have any accomplishments of her own to ride on. It's interesting about the convention because we haven't had one for a long time where the delegates are free to vote for whoever they want going into the thing, and which to me is a great thing. I hate the two-party system. The two parties have rigged the game to keep everybody out of the stuff, and they even make the taxpayers pay for them to select their candidates. The primaries are political parties selecting their candidates, but the taxpayers pay for that because it's it's held as elections. The problem is there isn't any strong candidate, and there isn't anybody right now posturing for that bid. They're all trying to put on this united front. So somebody in the Democratic Party who has some kind of clout, some kind of backing, needed to step forward on the very first day when this was announced and say, I want that spot. I'm going to go for it. But because nobody's doing that, if they wait until the convention and then somebody pops up then and they got a hold of the candidate, they've lost a lot of ground. Whoever they might pick has lost a lot of ground. But I think they'll go for it because they're all puppets, and the Democratic National Corporation and the Republican National Corporation are just in business, and so I don't think anything original is going to come out of it.
Well, the rumor behind the scenes, and Roland Martin has gotten excited about it, Black commentator, and a few other people. They basically aimed at Joe in order to get rid of Kamala. they wanted both of them gone, and then Joe, because he is still bitter about not being endorsed for 2016 for the presidency, to just stick a thumb in Obama's eye, he endorsed her, saying, I endorse her as the nominee.
Yeah.
And so that kind of put everybody in a rock and a hard place.
Right.
And now they're going with it, but I hear, the whispers behind the scenes is that, but you better perform, Kamala. So that's why this push of, oh, she's the second coming, oh, she's an icon, and the money laundering through Act Blue, they're really trying to prop her up so
Yeah.
that
Hey, Jennifer, could you, for people, for our viewers who aren't familiar with what you're talking about, the money laundering of Act Blue, could you explain that a little bit? Because apparently it's very legitimate. They're laundering money.
yeah, basically, anytime you give money to Act Blue or someone gives money to Act Blue, there's no securities on the credit card. So your credit card is open. It's not a one transaction thing and then it's closed off. The loop stays open, and so they can keep charging your credit card to all these other candidates. You know,
Uh-huh.
you're giving donations to 20 candidates that you didn't know you were giving donations to.
Yeah, supposedly, I just read something recently about how they will. I think they reimburse, but still, like they charge people's credit cards multiple times, so
Yeah,
that you make a $100 donation, and next thing you know, you donated $25,000, and you don't even know it.
exactly. And they may reimburse, but they've already filtered that money through. It's
Right.
gone to the candidate. It's definitely a huge scam. O'Keefe Media has done it.
I can't remember where I read this, but somebody was saying that she's claiming that she's raised $200 million so far. Then in reality, it's probably only about half that.
Right.
And I don't believe any of these figures at all.
Yeah, they've inflated the numbers. They've even inflated the numbers on those calls that they've had. Most recently, the white dudes for Kamala. I
Yeah.
hope you guys participated
Oh
in
yeah,
those.
right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wear one of those hats.
All,
You are
all
too,
I
Joe.
know, yeah, all I know is, for a moment there we said, "Oh man, we're rid of Biden," and then it's like, "Oh wait,
Yeah.
wait." Now we've got what we feared all along. Biden can't hack it; he drops out, and now we've got her, and I think like Jennifer's saying, behind the scenes, the Democrats are all saying, we're all like that. Oh, Joe finally backed out. Oh, wait a minute. That means we've got her to deal with now, and
Yeah.
and she, she doesn't show any signs of understanding that even in her own party, she's not really the selected person.
Yeah. I still wonder what the exit negotiations behind the scenes that are going on, because Jill and Hunter are still negotiating, and that Kamala has something that she's holding over. So it's just a song and dance game is what's going on, and we'll see what Nancy and Obama do in terms of bringing out the long knives to.
I'm assuming at this point
Divest
some of this
themselves.
has to do with pardoning or Hunter commuting a sentence or something.
Part of that, I'm very, very sure, has to do with that. Of course, Jill wants to make sure Joe has a legacy. Because as a one-term president,
Yeah.
it's not
This
all that.
This whole legacy thing really gripes me. I mean, legacy is something that the future decides. Take
I
care of
agree.
business right now, and whatever the historians have to say, just take care of business right now.
Yeah.
But yes, everybody's like, "Oh, what about your legacy? What about your legacy?" Is I'm gonna do what I got to do right now.
Yeah.
And in the future, whatever people say, I'll be dead and I won't give a shit. So
Let history take care of itself. And
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Joe can't do that. Joe's a blatant liar. I just reminded of that today when he
Yeah.
was on the tarmac somewhere about someone asked him how he's going to get this passed, this Supreme Court thing passed. He said, just like I passed everyone else. And everything else. And that reminded me about the fact he's been bloviating about the fact he's passed more bills in 4 years than any other president. That's not even close to true.
Right.
I mean, it's not even close.
It's-
Trump passed almost twice as many bills as Trump alone, and it's like, no, he's just full of shit. He just lies, and I mean, it just it always bothers me that and I've said this, I don't like this about the fact that Trump is a serial exaggerator, and he is, and I wish sometimes I think he'd be better off he just stuck to facts too, but they're talking about he talks about his bloviation and opinion, and they call them lies. But no, these are really hard facts he's lying about. It's just like
Yeah.
it just bothers the crap out of me.
You can say about both of them. Now, Trump did, he was here in the great state of Minnesota. In fact, I was driving across highway overpass when the squad cars with all the flashing lights were coming up I-94 as they were heading to St. Cloud. And I thought, geez, I don't see any cops anywhere on this overpass. That was my first thought. And, you know, what a spot it was. And then, but then he gets up to St. Cloud and he tells everybody, inflation will stop. The illegal aliens will be turned back. The cartels will be in retreat. Crime will fall. Energy prices will plummet. Incomes will soar. And a world in chaos will rapidly be transformed into a planet of peace. And I thought what he should have added, flowers will grow from rocks. Toenail fungus will be cured. Babies will be born with heads of thick hair, and light beer will really taste good.
Well, I mean, this is similar to, you know, the whole Obama thing about the oceans rising and seas roaring and whatever that ridiculous speech he gave that everybody was in periodicals about. Yeah, they all exaggerate. But I agree with Jim. Joe Biden is just a flat out liar and fabulist. And what's most egregious about it is that, and now his mind is gone, so he at least has an excuse now. But you know, he just pretended that it didn't happen.
Yeah,
I mean, it's, you know, no, I never said that. Well, no, this is my opinion then, but now it was that way when he was running in 2020 and people pinned him on the crime bill, the 1994 crime bill. And he just tried to backpedal. Well, it wasn't really me; it was someone else, and it's just like, no, that was you, dude.
Jennifer, speaking of the oceans rising, so Janet Yellen, the Secretary of the Treasury, gets on the horn last week and says she said the exact same thing that the United Nations said about 3 months ago. She said to solve the climate problem, she said $78 trillion. They said the United Nations says 75. Yeah,
Right.
Tell me about that. $78 trillion. It's like, and first of all, just today or yesterday, we find the national debt went above $36 trillion.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
double that. They need double that.
Yeah,
And they can solve it.
And they're not going to get it. That's another thing that people are fed up about. I mean, they may have bamboozled Gen Z and some of these young people, but people are fed. All of us remember Al Gore and what was that Inconvenient Truth or Convenient Truth, whatever the heck that ridiculous documentary was called, and the Gab Fest and the Love Fest, and then 12 years everybody's going to be dead. Well, 20 years later, nothing.
There's a man who also has brains of mush. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, well, the UN should not get 1 penny from us.
Say again, I didn't hear that.
The UN the United Nations should not get 1 penny from us.
No, they shouldn't, let alone $75 trillion.
We should withdraw from the UN, stop funding them. We put more money into that than anybody else. And it's another, rigged institution. And the idea of the UN after World War II was to, create world peace by being this arbiter, with all the nations. And, look at all the wars and all the, the civil wars and all the stuff that's gone on. They've never fulfilled their promise, so they shouldn't get a nickel from anybody. But that would be, everybody talks about day one in the White House, and I think day one is you're starting your organizational process. Here's a news flash. The term is 4 years long, so you don't have to get everything done on the first day. But, day one is cut off the UN. And
I'm here to co-sign that.
Yeah, it wouldn't cost us anything economically, to do that. There wouldn't be any fallback from that would have a negative impact on the U.S. tariffs, on the other hand, blanket tariffs will not help. They will increase prices across the board, and it will also have an impact on employment and salaries and stuff. I was reading some of the stuff that the inflation would increase with raised tariffs, and inflation-adjusted income would drop. And the tariffs would we would have to buy American-made goods, which we don't make a lot of goods in America anymore. Now that could spur the American economy, except the American economy doesn't respond rapidly. The manufacturers get a lot of their raw materials and their basic parts from overseas. So unless suddenly we could start manufacturing all the things that we buy from China and the other parts of Asia, things that we have to buy from Europe, it's not going to make a difference. It would shave about 1% off the U.S. Gross domestic product annually, and it would cost about 684,000 jobs, according to centrist, nonpartisan estimates. And everybody, no matter what income level you're at, would see a drop in your annual income. So, and then there's retaliation from all these companies. So, some of the things that Trump has been talking about, besides all these, grand claims of, the utopia right around the corner, are actually bad policies. And beyond all the talk of religion that's coming out of the Republican camp, which is very scary, we know that, Trump learned his lesson the first time around. When you hire intelligent, capable people, they don't always do things the way you want, do what you want, the way you want, and might stand up to you. So second time around, he's going to have a bunch of yes men who will do this stuff without any thought. So to me, it's scary on both sides. Like I said, I don't like the two-party system. We're being offered two candidates who, in my assessment of them, neither one of them provide for me what the country needs at this point. And the I guess the really worst part of it, looking ahead, is there are so many people, and this is a common thread that I've seen for several months now, that don't like either candidate. They didn't like Biden, they didn't like Trump. Now they don't like Harris any more than they like Biden. And there could be this situation where, we have 20 or 23% of the register or of the eligible voters, let alone registered voters, actually turn out to vote. So you put somebody in the White House, but it's not really the bulk of the American people or American voters who are agreeing to that. So many people are not going to be represented simply because they feel like they have no choice, and so they don't vote.
Okay, let me throw an idea out here. So, everyone says Robert Kennedy doesn't have a chance in hell. I don't know if that's true. I mean,
he's going to have to show up more than once every 2 or 3 weeks and make some kind of statement. The media is basically ignoring him. He needs to do something to get regular attention. He needs to be out in the public. He needs to be making speeches. He needs to actually campaign for this spot and make the American public aware that he is an alternative. He has experience in the federal government. He has experience with economic matters. He has things to bring to the people. He has some ideas that aren't any more far out than the far right or far left ideas we're hearing from the other candidates. So, but he needs to make himself known, and he needs to do it and
Well-
make himself known as an alternate to the
Let me run an idea about both by both you guys. I don't know at this point. I think maybe you're better off without any experience in federal government. You know,
yeah. Well,
Yeah, you are, but it's a very strange dichotomy with Americans. It's like we've gotten it's a Stockholm syndrome as far as I'm concerned. We've gotten
Oh,
so
interesting.
used
huh?
to
Yeah,
oh, it has to be a government person and oh, they have government experience
right.
that we don't. Trump was an anomaly for the most part. We're looking
Yeah.
for someone who's had the government experience.
Yeah,
It makes no sense to me either because it should be just I have no problem with someone who their background was totally I think Whitmer and Shapiro are being good surrogates and attacking Trump and Vance, so they don't have any experience, and they're about self-service, and we've been public servants for XY amount of years.
Yeah, what a bunch of bullshit. These
So,
are, I mean,
total. And I mean, it's like, well, if your public service, locking down people and, not being able to sell them seeds during the pandemic and going out on your boat and the rest of us, if that's your idea of public service, I think I'll take their
and
self-service.
this isn't. I'm not just trying to slam Democrats here. Republicans have the same problem. There's almost no one in government who has any experience actually doing anything.
Yes.
I mean,
and that as somebody with a strong business background, and there have been some people in the Senate who have had that, who have worked in various types of business, have been successful in business, and know how to run things. If you could if you went into the White House with that kind of experience and you started running the federal bureaucracy like you're running your business, whether it's a big corporation or a private business, particularly private businesses that people have brought up themselves, then that's where we would see the changes that we need to see. But as Jennifer said, I love that Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, if they don't know about foreign policy, how can they do foreign policy? Well, basically, you tell these people, and this is something Trump was good at, you do what we need or we cut off your money.
Yeah.
Because
that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's that they behave when they know money is on the line because we're losing it fast, but we're still one of the richest countries in the world. So
and that's a business.
And you're the one with your hand out, so do what we need to do. And I agree. Trump, amazingly enough, excelled at foreign policy because we're not in any proxy. We're now in 3 proxy wars where we weren't any with him. Kim Jong-un was,
whoops.
What happened?
Hold on. You still there? You're there.
I'm back, I think.
Yeah. That's okay. That's all right.
Yeah. So we were doing way better for foreign policy, and there was no Israel-Hamas war.
Yeah, and the irony is, and David Strom has said this several times, is that on the surface, foreign policy should have been the last thing Donald Trump should have been good at.
Right.
And
yet he handled it like a businessman, which is which is what I'm saying about the bureaucracy. But he basically came down to, like in business, if you want my business, this is what you got to provide for me. If you're going to be my supplier, if I'm a manufacturer, you're going to be my supplier. Here's what I'm going to pay, and this is what I expect for what I'm going to pay. Now, do you need my help in making that happen? But this is how business is done, and so that to me wasn't a surprise because that's basically what everybody's so afraid of stepping on somebody's toes, and it's like,
oh God,
what are these people doing for us? What are these companies that we send? We spend, I don't know. The last thing I saw, and of course you can't get this bugs me too. You can't get an accurate, up-to-date accounting of anything in the federal government. It's all
Yeah.
from at least a year, if not 2 years ago. But we spent like $47 billion in foreign aid. And $47 billion in foreign aid, and what are we getting out of that?
Yeah.
Because
Not a whole lot.
yeah, the good-natured idea of helping out other countries, and it doesn't work that way. That this money doesn't go directly to the people who are starving. It doesn't. We probably send money to Venezuela, but it doesn't go to the people. Most of the people in Venezuela earn under $200 a month, and the cost basic staples for a family of four costs an estimated $385 a month. So it's no wonder these people wanted to get rid of Maduro, but and this is when you came on and you talked about Kamala endorsing this guy. Cuba, Honduras, and one other, far left revolutionary country. Thinking what it was 1962 or whatever, but are the only ones who endorsed this guy's Bolivia. The only other three that endorsed him. So of course, who's the other far left, revolutionary? Kamala. So that's too bad.
More proof that socialism doesn't exist, and yet, or it doesn't work. I mean,
It doesn't work, yeah.
Unbelievable. I've never been able to understand. I should set this up a little bit. So I got a guy who called in last week. He says, and from the accent, I assume he was telling me correctly. He says he's an Iranian journalist, and he said, I don't know if you guys heard this. Anthony Blinken said about 2 weeks ago that Iran was 2 to 3 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. And this guy says, no, they've already got it. Matter of fact, he said they're going to have 100 of them by October. And I totally believe him. If the government says something, they're always way, way behind.
Yeah.
So,
or lying. Yeah.
So Obama's people finally admit that the reason they propped up Iran during his tenure was because of some sort of strange equivalency. They wanted a counterweight in the Middle East to Israel, and Iran was a logical thing. So they thought they would prop Iran up so that it was basically equal to Israel. And I'm thinking, only a stupid freaking intellectual would come up with that stupid plan.
That's all he is.
Yeah, it is all he is. That's right. It's the stupidest thing ever.
Think tank theoretician, just like most of those people from the left on foreign policy. It's all about.
So now we're almost on the brink of World War III, and it's like, what the hell what were you thinking? I mean, I don't understand how anybody could be that. I don't know. I don't understand how people can
do that. All the places, Iran, I mean, since the Shah was pushed out by the Ayatollah back in those days, a great movie, Argo, that kind of goes into detail of getting our people out of there. But of all the places, that they are the most militantly opposed to the West, whether they mean us. They rarely attack any place else. Britain is another place they don't like. But any place else that you could have picked to make that balance against Israel. But I don't know why they have to have a balance against Israel.
That's right. Why do you? Correct. Why do you have to? I know. That's the first thing. And then secondly, why did you pick these people?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Israel is not going to go out and attack all these other countries.
No.
They just want to be left alone, but they will never be left alone.
Sure.
So that's that's the name.
Have either one of you ever been to Tel Aviv? I haven't.
I have not. No.
I understand it's one of the great party cities in the world.
I don't know. My brother-in-law was here, and he said the food was just kind of bland. That was his.
Oh yeah.
Well, he's older than I am. He probably wasn't out partying at the clubs or anything, but
Oh, come on. You're out partying. You're
his,
just
his
lying.
takeaway. Well, yeah, but I'm only 25. But yeah, his takeaway was the food was surprisingly bland. Sorry, Tel Aviv. That's the way it works.
Yeah. Well,
The food is not bland in Venezuela.
say again. What was
The
that?
food is not bland in Venezuela. It's good. One place that I worked in my multiple places career, there were some Venezuelan refugees here, and occasionally they would bring some stuff. It was like a whole family that got hired all at once, and so they would bring some of their food in and for other people to sample and stuff. It was pretty good, and they were nice people. It was they had to go back because the visa. They were here on a visa. They were here legally on a visa, but they had to go back. And I've always hoped that they were able to survive the situation there. So many people have left that country, and they're not going to do well anyplace else. Most of South and Central America, the people who already live there have trouble making a living, getting jobs. So it's too bad.
It sounds like I'm going to be changing the subject here, but I'm kind of not. So, do you guys know who Morrissey is? Kind of an Irish rock singer.
Yeah.
When in the late 1980s, I worked in an alternative music radio station, and we just worshipped this guy. I mean, he was really amazing. I mean, and he really is an incredible artist. I mean, still. Well, this is like 2 days ago. He's in his 60s now, if I'm right, but he's still performing all the time, and he apparently has become a hardcore conservative. I mean, really hardcore, and you would never know that, going back 30, 40 years ago. I guess people change. I don't know. I don't really know what his politics ever were, but there was the assumption he was liberal. That was the assumption, But yeah, so this guy at his concerts, he's been calling out Bill Gates and Fauci and Klaus Schwab and all these guys. He puts their pictures up on the screen and swears at them, and it's really, really amazing. I just find that kind of just incredible, It's like you can't assume from people anymore.
Yeah, well, Tom Petty was everybody. Well, Tom Petty's a rocker, and so he must be liberal. And why people pay attention to the politics of actors and singers and stuff, I don't know, because that's a whole different breed of human.
For sure.
But Tom Petty and everybody was like criticizing her. It's like, what the heck? That's the way he feels about this stuff. Judge them by their music or their acting or their whatever. And to me, their personal lives, having lived in Los Angeles all that time, their personal lives don't mean anything.
They have no connection, particularly as they get higher up. They lose all connection to reality.
I just thought of something. All three of us have lived in Los Angeles. I just thought of that. Yeah, look at that. Huh.
Yeah, so we survived.
Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm. And we all left.
That's right.
You guys earlier than me.
So I don't know if you guys have ever heard this, but supposedly after he was killed, John Lennon's personal assistant said he was a closet Republican. That's the way he described him. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, intelligent people make conservative choices.
And I have one other piece of news I want to run by you guys.
Yeah.
This is from Breitbart, from the Breitbart Health, and the headline is "Consumers Beware: The Ohio Supreme Court rules that boneless chicken may contain bones." I thought you'd be interested in that because I love my boneless chicken, man.
Yeah, but you got to watch out. Well, I just wanted to comment about Jimmy Dave Vance. I heard that this Jimmy Dave Vance got nominated for something down there. Now, I grew up down in that part of the world,
Actually, you did, didn't you? That's right.
Yeah, I was, Middletown was over a ways from where I was, but down there in Kentucky, up in the hollers. Now I live close to that, and I had to work up in that area for a while. And I just want to, what I've been reading and hearing is that Jimmy Dave is Catholic, and his wife is a Hindu, and they got the Catholic and Hindu in the same household. And I'm thinking, well, Sister Morticia won't have that. When I was a boy, we up on the corner there from the Sheridans. We go up to Sheridan sometimes, and up on the corner was the Mount Olive Baptist Church, and there's people in there singing, and more than that, singing. It wasn't like a hymns down at St. Lawrence O'Toole or St. Joseph kind of hymns. These people were singing and having a good time. And so we'd go sit on the lawn outside of them places on Saturday afternoon and listen up to that music. And we would commented on that to one of the nuns, and she said, well, we was all going to hell because we was participating in religious rites outside the church. And so I just wonder how, I know that Sister Grievous and all the other nuns probably ain't too happy with this Catholic and Hindu going on in the same household. There's them children going and taking Mass and getting their communion and then coming home and kneeling down to Vishnu. That bothers the heck out of me.
Tim, have you read his book?
No, I don't need to read about hillbillies. I grew up I am one, basically. My family lived up in the hollers, and the older people. My mom and dad were the first members of their respective families to be born in the city. And then I worked up in eastern Kentucky, and so I don't need to read about these people.
No, I totally understand.
Going through all that crap. When I first saw that, it was J.D. Vance. Now, there was a woman in my class that we were in the same grade and going through school, named Vance, Kathy, and she had a brother named J.D. So I thought, oh, wow, he's written a book. And then I looked into it a little bit more, and I said, well, no, I might have read his, because if somebody ever writes a book about Ironton, Ohio, or as we called it, Ironton, Ohio, that'd be an interesting read from back in the day. But no, I mainly read textbooks, and that's my weird thing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, normally I let you guys go to do this, but I'm not going to, because I have what I call part 3, which is all the weird science and space news. And by the way,
okay.
I don't suppose anybody of you saw Ashton Forbes' interview last week, did you? This is really amazing. So he's a guy. I didn't know this till we started. He actually lives here in St. Paul, Minnesota. I didn't know that, but he has been propagating this theory online, which sounds totally bonkers. But the thing is, he has an enormous enormous amount of science and circumstantial evidence to back this up. So he says that Malaysia Flight 370 that took off from Kuala Lumpur Airport on March 9th, 2014, he said that the U.S. military transported it, and I mean teleported it to another location in the midair. That's what he says. And this is based primarily on 2 videos he's been given by people in the military. And we've seen the videos, he showed them. He's also named the person that gave it to him, and apparently that person's had a really difficult time ever since. He's actually been in jail for this, all sorts of stuff. So so anyway, I bring that up because my 2 things today in part 3 were about the fact that today is the anniversary, 1958, when Dwight Eisenhower formed NASA. And I have Oh, well, that's interesting.
Right.
Okay, there we go. I had a former business partner years ago whose brother worked at NASA. Now, this is like 15, 20 years ago. But he told me that he was a scientist at NASA. He said, we couldn't do the Apollo space missions now here anymore because of the bureaucracy. That's what he said. Because we couldn't manage it. It's like, it's just a terrible thing, you know. And now they've got this Artemis thing that's going up, you know. But you know, he said, no, we couldn't do this. We couldn't. And then the other thing is, I don't know if you guys have heard this. So the Boeing Starliner made the first trip to the International Space Station, and they had some problems. And the 2 astronauts that piloted that thing, they're stuck up there.
Yeah. That's my wife and I were talking about this a week or 2 ago. It's like, you know, so many of these things are that they're doing now aren't working out. And, you know, how did we ever manage to get into space, 50 years ago?
Yeah. With slide rules. They didn't even have any real computers. They had no computers. You know, they used slide rules. And they still managed it.
Yeah, but it's like, well, she said, were they just more careful? And I said, well, there was less bureaucracy. There, you know, right now there's so many moving parts, so many people in the line of things that one part doesn't know what the other part's doing. It's just like that glitch in that shut down all the computers all over the world, all the large, business functioning computers, because, you've got 10,000 people constantly trying to improve something by these little minuscule increments. And, worker number 437 has no idea what worker number 7,215 is doing. And if they both write code that has some of the same code in it, and if they put it together at the same time, it's going to screw things up. And,
well, I mean, I don't know if you're aware of this, Tim. There's versioning software, but your point is well taken. At some point, where does that software break down? You've got so many people on the system, and you got literally people posting minor changes, literally seconds apart. Mm-hmm. At what point are you just all screwed up? That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and fortunately, this didn't happen to anything in the aircraft, but some of the airlines, and they had to go in and fix it computer by computer.
Wow.
Was the other part of the thing. Is why it took so long. It wasn't like, we go in and flip, fix that code and everything's great and we're back in business. No, they had to go in bit by bit, maybe not computer by computer, but the server panels and that kind of stuff. Individual fixes throughout the system. And I say, stop messing with it. If it worked all that time, until something isn't working, but then how can they hire 10,000 people to play ping pong and eat in the cafeteria and make $68,000 their first year out of college? Because that's what the software industry is all about.
Yeah, it's really amazing. So
never had a ping pong table any place I've worked.
Say again, what was that?
I never had a ping pong table any place I've worked.
Okay.
I'm really, looking back, I'm upset. I would say that they were gaslighting me, but I know what gaslighting actually means, as opposed to all the young people who use the term without having a clue as to the true meaning of it.
Yeah. You ever seen the movie Gaslight?
Oh, yeah, many times. It's a great one.
Yeah, it
Charles
is, actually.
Boyer, Charles Boyer, he's such a fine actor. Also, he played the Pepe Le Moco in the movie Algiers. Which if you ever want to see a movie where people talk a lot and nothing ever happens, Algiers with Charles Boyer, Pepe Le Moco. He's wonderful.
Okay. I tell you what, let's leave it at that. Well, Zoro didn't show up. He's probably off killing somebody or something. You know, he's got his thing. You know, I actually did used to, years ago, I did know a woman who worked for the CIA. She couldn't talk about what she did, but as far as I can tell, she actually got on an airplane every weekend and went over the Middle East and killed somebody. And I'm not kidding. I think that's what she actually did end up doing.
Wow.
But
Well, the
she always said,
other-
because the thing is, her big deal is she was supposed to take her revolver everywhere she went, but she said she left it in the car when she went into a bar. So,
Huh.
you know, okay.
So
That's
does
fine.
Charles Boyer, you know.
What was that?
So does Charles Boyer. He never takes his revolver into the bistro.
He's stuck. He's stuck in a loop.
All right, I'm going to let you guys go, okay? And
All right.
we did part 3, so I'm just going to talk. I'm going to talk about a couple things. Jennifer Oliver O'Connell, thank you. Tim Conaway,
Thank you.
thank you. Here's 12 seconds more, bummer. That's Tim Conaway, former executive editor of Hustler magazine, and Jennifer Oliver O'Connell. She's a proprietor of asthegirlturns.com. She writes for Red State and a couple other magazines too, or publications. We're lucky to have them. I surround myself with people who are definitely smarter than me. That's a pretty smart thing to do, isn't it? It's like, yeah. Now, Don Zorro was supposed to join us tonight. I have no idea where he is. Like I said, he's probably off murdering somebody or something. That's what he does. He's an intelligence operative. So, yeah. So I just want to tell you what we got coming on for the rest of the week here. Tom Palladino is going to be here tomorrow. He's a scalar light researcher. Honest to God, I don't even know what that means. I'm going to find out. We're pre-taping that interview tomorrow afternoon. I'll find out with you what that is. Wednesday, it's our one year anniversary show. Jeff Meyer's going to be here. Santa's going to be here. I think we'll get a bunch of calls from a bunch of people. Now, and I'm very pleased to tell you this. So last Monday was our last show we did without a guest. We had calls all night long, 2 hours nonstop. That was pretty cool. So, and I never got a chance to encourage you to call in tonight. It's terrible. I didn't. But on Wednesday for sure, you definitely want to call it. So, and Thursday I'm taking off, having my mother move. So that's the schedule here. That's the story. That's how I'm sticking to it. I'm Jim Peters. I want to thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Good night, Esperanza. Good night, Uncle Donnie. And good night to you, wherever you are. I'll see you tomorrow.